Welcome to Crimepedia Podcast. This week I am your host. My name is Cherry, and with me as always is my USA bestie. It is Morgan.
Am I your USA bestie? Or are you just saying that?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, thanks.
You are. How are things going in the good old US of A?
Getting chilly. It is getting chilly.
Yeah, it's chilly here too.
It's definitely fall now here.
And then you know what that means, don't you? That means that all of the big events that we do are over, and we're all now starting to count down to all the new events for like 2024. Once Christmas is done, we are on the countdown for like CrimeCon. UK CrimeCon is in a different location this year. There's going to be loads of new stuff. There's lots of people coming over from America, American podcasters, American content creators, all coming over here to what I think is probably going to be the best CrimeCon, I think, this year that we've ever had.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I'm pretty sure we have two really big podcasters that are going to be there. Well, Captain's been there before, but Nick is coming over this year, which is really exciting.
Yeah. Nick's going to be over. I think we've got quite a few new podcasts that are going to be joining the content creators area, which will be brilliant. And it's a really good, if you are interested in that kind of thing, which obviously you are because you're listening to a podcast now, a true crime podcast. But if you are interested in that kind of stuff, it's like everything's under one roof. There's lots of people for you to meet and talk to. And I love that about the true crime events. It's a very community spirited event, CrimeCon. And the same with True Crime Fest in Arkansas next year. That now is in its second year, and that's going to be bigger and better than it was last year. Very victim focused, very, very good place for people to come together and put their heads together to try and get cold cases or cases that are stuck, going again. And it's like-minded people all with the same goal, and that is to solve crime.
Yeah, that's going to be a great event. It was great last year. You enjoyed it. You had a lot of good things to say about it. So yeah, we have a really busy year coming up. Yeah,
we've got a lot of shows next year that we're booked to do. And we're hoping to do maybe a little Crimepedia tour for 2025, which would be amazing. Mm-hmm. So we're working on that too. So we'll give you some more information on that as and when we can.
Yeah. So, Cherry, how about we hop into this week's episode? What do you have for us?
So this week's episode is not one of my usual episodes. If you listen regularly, you'll know that I really like the older style cases, the cold cases. This week's episode is, I found this because of a family. I found this because of a family's sheer grit and determination to do good things in the name of their lost family member. And I really admire their strength and their courage. And this is a kind of thing that could happen to anybody, anywhere, any of us. This is not a domestic situation. This is not where somebody is in a gang rivalry situation. This is a guy who is an everyday normal guy, just going about doing everyday normal things, when he's confronted with somebody who is, I don't even know how to describe them, to be honest. Somebody completely callous, and somebody who just ruins not one life, but many, many lives. And this week's case is the case of Adam Ellison. Adam Ellison was born on the 7th of February 1988. He worked in Tesco in Prescot, working through a management course, and was described by colleagues and friends as a true gentleman, somebody that everybody loved. He was kind and loving and adored his family. They were a very close family, and Adam's family clearly adored him back. November 2017 would be a month that the family would never forget.
Okay,
Adam
Morgan,
was brutally
so on the
murdered.
evening of the 3rd of
His
November
life was stolen from
2017,
him.
29-year-old
Adam
Ellison
vicious
was on a night out with his
This
friend
is
and his
Crimepedia.
cousins. Now, he
And
lived
this
in
is
a
the
place
case
called Prescot
of
in
Adam
Gloucestershire.
Ellison.
And Adam wasn't the sort of person that usually would go out every weekend. It was kind of like an on-again, off-again thing. And then eventually he decided, yeah, okay, we will go out. It's just a quiet night out. It's not a big celebratory night out. However, he was quietly excited because he had actually decided to propose to his partner, and I think he'd been chatting with his sister via like WhatsApp or via text, and he had found this ring set that he really wanted to get, and it was a ring with a wedding ring as well, like so that they kind of match each other. And he had set his heart on this set, and he was telling her all about it. And he was also sending her pictures in the pub, and I think there was a dog in the pub or something, and he was sending pictures back and forth and chatting also with his sister. Now, they visited several pubs around the town that evening, but they decided to settle in a pub called Dean's House. As well as them being out that night, there had been reports of a group of motorcyclists that had been tearing around the town, being a bit of a nuisance, driving a bit dangerously, and just that general, as soon as you say that, the kind of motorcyclists I'm talking about. Now, there was one bike. There were two people on this bike, and it was a green and white Kawasaki. I would say it's a trials bike, but other people would call it maybe a scrambler bike. So not like a full-on motorcycle bike, like one that you'd go off in the woods on, the big thick tire tread ones. But it didn't have the traditional Kawasaki labeling, but it was looked at as when you look at it, it was a distinctive green and white Kawasaki bike. Reports are that I've read that the bike had pulled up outside a pub called the Old Mill Pub, and the pillion passenger jumped off the back of the bike and went over to the pub window and was kind of like, that when you put your hands over your eyes to look into a pub window. The person on the back, which I'm saying is a he, because I don't believe it to be a woman from the reconstructions that I've seen and from the reports that I've read. So I'm going to go with he at this time.
Okay.
I went over to the pub window and was looking like he was looking for somebody. Didn't see, obviously, the person he was looking for, jumped back on the back of the bike and carried on. The pub is not very far away from the pub that Adam and his cousins and friends were drinking in. Around the early hours of the 4th of November, Adam and his friends were leaving the Dean's House pub and going to be on their way making home. Now, he had already texted his mum and said, "Is it okay if I stay at your house tonight?" To which she had obviously replied, "Yes, that's fine." And he said, I'll see you a bit later. So he was making his way home with them. They were all walking together. As they approached the junction of Market Place, which you can see on the map, I will put the map up for people to have a look at. You can see Market Place there. You can see where Dean's house is. They've walked along Church Street, and there's a junction of Market Place and a place called Eccleston. I think it was Eccleston Street. As they got to the junction, this bike with these two guys on it, I guess, I'm saying guys, but, these two people on it, they came around the corner really fast. And as they came around the corner fast, if you sort of take a corner a bit too wide, they took the corner really wide and nearly knocked over Adam and his friends. They swerved at the last minute. So, of course, like Adam and his friends are like, what are you doing? Like, you idiot, you could have knocked us over. And they're shouting sort of at the rider of the bike as he's driven past them. And what happens is about 50 yards down the road, this bike kind of pulls over. So Adam and his friends sort of, what are you doing? Like, you nearly knocked us over, you idiot, you're driving like an idiot. They walked down towards the bike. Now the pillion passenger got off the bike and was like arms in the air, like, what, you idiot yourself, who do you think you're talking to, kind of thing. And Adam goes up to this guy and was like, what are you doing? You could have hurt us. You're driving like an idiot. Friends of Adam kind of describe this pillion passenger swinging at Adam. So it's kind of like throws a punch at Adam, and Adam immediately drops to the floor. So, of course, this is something that they're thinking, oh, my God. And they run down. The pillion guy gets back on the bike, and the bike shoots off towards Sewell Street, which is, if you look on the map, is straight down towards Tesco, actually where Adam worked. Adam's cousin, when he got to him, actually thought that Adam had been knocked out because of the punch that he just received in the face, which is obviously uncalled for. It was just a straight, what he thought was a straight smack in the face. When they got to him, they actually realised that he'd been stabbed in the neck.
Oh.
Now, I've actually been present at a stabbing when I was a teenager, and I can describe it exactly the same. The two people were, I would say, maybe about 200 yards away from me, so I could clearly see them. And one guy swung what I thought was a punch to the other guy, but actually had stabbed him with a knife across the top of his arm. And had actually stabbed, completely opened up his arm. But from where I was standing and looking, it just looked like a punch. It didn't look like anything serious. And I think that from how I've read this is the same. But having got to him, they then realise that it's a lot more serious than they think. Now, this guy has jumped straight back on the bike and they've gone. So they're nowhere to be seen. Now, the cousins and lots of passers-by then call 999.
Okay. All right. So real quick, I had to look this up because he kept using the word pillion, which I had no idea what you're talking
passenger,
about.
Sorry. Oh, okay. Sorry. So pillion passenger, which is the passenger on a bike.
Yeah, the person. So there were two people on the bike. So this is the person in the back.
Yeah.
So the person in the back that was sitting on the pillion, which is the pad for the passenger.
The back of the bike.
He got off the bike, confronted Adam, swung.
Yeah.
Adam went down. It turns out he had been he'd been
stabbed in the neck.
Stabbed in the neck.
Yeah.
Where in the neck?
Yeah. Up here. So it's up at the top of the neck.
So like jugular area or?
Yeah, very seriously. It's a serious stab wound to his neck.
Okay. All right. So I'm assuming it was probably two men on the bike. That's my first opinion.
I believe so, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine that it could happen, a female get off the bike, confront and stab someone. But if there is the
likelihood is it's going to be.
The likelihood is not as likely. But yeah, so it's, Buddy is on the back of his buddy's bike, can drive around being assholes, and
that's right.
And he hops off and he stabs him. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm guessing from what they've explained, it's like a slashing. I guess it's like a slashing motion. They believe he's been punched, but it could be like a front punch. If that's the case, he's just literally stabbed him straight in the neck. So from the reports that I've read and from the websites and from Adam's family website, it was a stab to the neck. So whichever way he's done it, the neck is a very delicate area and a very dangerous area to be shoving a knife into. It's not like it's in your foot or something. I mean, it's a dangerous injury.
If you're going at someone with a knife and you're going towards the neck, your intent is to kill them.
You mean it. Exactly.
There's nothing else.
I'm glad you said that. That is exactly my point in this, is that was...
There's no other intent.
And
there's no other intent.
No, and the thing is with this is that Adam is not a person who is in trouble. He's not a person who is disliked by people. Literally every single comment I've read about Adam has been a complimentary comment. And I've read hundreds of messages from people about him. And every single one of them is complimentary. And they're a very tight-knit family. They're a very friendly family. There's nothing bad about them. He wasn't out causing trouble. He was out excited with his friends. He wasn't really drunk. He wasn't being abusive to anybody. He was just, saying to a guy, what are you doing? You nearly knocked us over, which any single one of us would do on a night out if we were confronted with that situation.
You've been drinking, you're going to be pissed off because, these guys are whipping around corners like assholes and potentially hit you. Yeah, you're going to be mad.
Yeah.
And here's the thing too, like the guy that got off and attacked Adam, it wasn't self-defense. He could have stayed on the bike. No. They could have driven away.
Yeah, they didn't even have to stop. They didn't have to stop and pull over. There was no need.
Mm-mm.
And if you and to do that, you have to have that weapon concealed about your person. So you have to have intent. If you're carrying weapons like that, your intent is to use it.
Oh, yeah. They're looking for trouble that night.
Exactly. I don't, when we go out on a night out, you don't go out tooled up.
No.
Why would you?
No need.
So, yeah. Well, his mum and dad, I watched this. They have a website. I'll tell you about the Facebook page later. They have a Facebook page, and on the Facebook page is an interview. And this is an interview with Adam's mum, Adam's two sisters, and the nurse that treated Adam at the hospital. And this interview is just horrible. It's horrible to listen to the pain that this person has caused Adam's family. It is heart-wrenching. It really is. We listen to a lot of this kind of stuff in our job, but this particular, and you can find it on Facebook, and I'll give you all the details after I've finished, but listening to a mother describe the absolute internal pain of the phone call, hearing that your son is on his way, is going to be on his way to hospital because he's been hurt, and not really knowing anything, a lot about that. Now, in this, mum and dad arrived at the scene. In this interview that they do on the Facebook page, she describes getting to the scene and seeing police tape surrounding Adam, and she runs over with the dad with dad, and they try to go under the police tape, and a policeman stops them and says, "I'm sorry, you can't come in because this is a crime scene." And she says, "But that's my son." And he said, "I'm sorry, it's a crime scene." And she's saying, "But my son is a crime scene and I can't get to my son." And like, as a parent, you can't even imagine to be stood there and your child, no matter what age they are, is the other side of that police cordon, and you are not allowed to get to your child. You're not allowed to be there. Somebody's stopping you from being there. And that's all you want as a parent, is to get there and be with your child. That was the first thing that I was listening to, thinking, oh my God, that just must be absolutely horrendous. Now, She then describes the fact that a local shop down the road, you obviously have it in America too. It's like blue roll, we call it. It's like most industrial places have it, like workplaces have it. It's like it's like tissue, but it's blue. It's industrial stuff. It's big, thick tissue that you pull off on a roll, and you usually have it in like garages, or you have it in shops.
Oh, yeah.
It's usually some commercial blue roll. So she says that all she could see was this blue roll where somebody had tried to stem Adam's blood. And that's all she can remember, is just seeing so much blood and this blue roll and not being able to get to him. She says that they followed the ambulance to the hospital. They rang his sisters, Nicola and Joanne. And when they all got to the hospital, obviously the doctors have just taken Adam straight in to try and save his life. Now, the operating department practitioner was a lady called Debbie Scott. As she didn't recognize Adam when he came in, but as soon as she saw Adam's sisters, she knew who Adam was. Now, Adam's sisters and her went to school together, so she knew the family very well. Adam's mum had him a lot later. Joyce had him a lot later than the girls. The girls were his older sisters. And she said it knocked her for six. As soon as she saw who the girls were, she knew Adam, and she knew how tight that family were. And she said her heart just absolutely sank, but she had to be professional. She had to do her job. She didn't tell the girls that, like, she didn't say, "Oh, do you remember me?" She didn't even do anything like that. She just left it. And I think it was about 6 years later, she actually bumped into one of the sisters and said, I was actually there that night. I worked in the emergency department, and I was there in the background. And we'll get to that in a minute. Now, she describes that Adam was very grey. By the time he got to hospital, I mean, the blood loss was huge. They had used over 8 pints of blood to try and sustain him, and machines and tubes, and there was beeping and there was noise and chaos, as there is in an emergency room. And his mum describes that there was just blood everywhere. There was blood everywhere. There were tubes everywhere. There were doctors and nurses doing everything they could, working so hard to try and save him. And she says that when she looked at his face and looked at his eyes were grey, not blue. And she said he had the most beautiful blue eyes. But when I looked at him, his eyes were grey. And she said it was just horrendous. She said we were begging him, please don't leave us, please don't die, we need you. And the nurses have described being there and hearing that. And this is, I think, some of the things that you don't understand or you don't think of straight away when you listen to true crime documentaries. You have to remember that the things that we're talking about is the worst, absolute worst time of somebody's life. This is a situation none of us ever want to experience firsthand. It really isn't. And we've talked about before the ripple effect of crime and the fact that this happened to Adam, but you have this nurse who is explaining, listening to a mother absolutely gutturally screaming for them to save her child and to keep going and don't stop, when the doctors are standing there saying there's nothing more we can do. That doctor is a trained doctor, but that doctor is also a human and is probably a parent. And to stand there and have to say to somebody, there is nothing more I can do for your son, must be something you will never, ever forget.
Yeah.
All the training in the world does not prepare you for that, for being that person that has to do that, to somebody.
I could not imagine.
It's horrible. It's just one of the most awful interviews I've ever heard, in terms of like my stomach after listening to it. It actually hurt, physically. Actually, it was horrible. And Debbie describes in this interview how she says she will never, ever forget the girls and mum screaming at him and hitting him and telling him, don't go, don't leave us, like, we need you. And I just felt for them so, so badly. And Adam unfortunately flatlined. The family begged doctors to keep going, but unfortunately they said, it's too late, we're going to have to call it, there's nothing more we can do. And unfortunately he died at around 2 a.m. with his family by his side, which I think is a tiny little piece of that, is that his family were with him. They were there.
Yeah.
So
sad.
It's honestly, Morgan, I mean, we've done a lot of cases and we have spoken to a lot of people, and I kind of put this the same as when I spoke to when we did our CrimeCon live, and I spoke to TJ's mum.
Yeah.
And it's the same. It's that same. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm a mum. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm a woman. I don't know, because I haven't spoken to a lot of dads. Let's put it that way. I haven't spoken to a lot of dads in this case. For some reason, I tend to, you interview it. It's normally the mums that come forward to talk to you. We've only had a couple of cases where it's been a dad that has spoken to us. And it seems that when you speak to like a parent, or you speak to somebody like that, it's just this, I can't even describe it. And it's something I hope that nobody ever understands. Nobody else ever gets to understand it. But it's a look. There's a look in their eyes. And I've had it with every single mum that unfortunately I've been in a position to interview and tell the story of their son or their daughter. There's just this look on their face. And I think it's different. It's really different to any, and maybe some police officers can probably, agree with me on this, that have worked with families. They just have this look about them, this look in their eyes that just is hurt, real hurt. And it's horrible. It's really horrible.
I would say a vast majority, if not all, of the cases that we've talked about have been senseless. But this is one that goes, it goes beyond being senseless, right? You have a young man who is going out to have fun with some friends, right? Like he didn't ask for any of this. He did not.
No.
He didn't do anything wrong.
No.
He just happened to be wrong place, wrong time. If he would have been walking down the street 30 seconds later, he would still be alive, right? If he was walking down the street a minute before, he'd still be alive. It was
How many
just
times
a
has that gone round in
convergence.
their heads?
I know. It's just a convergence of like unrelated events, which
Circumstance.
cause
Yeah.
and it causes this a senseless death, right? And even though there was a confrontation. He's mad. You're driving
Quite rightly
crazy
so.
and reckless, and you almost could have hurt themselves. They could have hurt Adam and his friends. Yeah, so he's going to be upset. But that doesn't give you the right to kill somebody, right?
But I mean, what provocation is that? That isn't a provocation.
It's not.
Somebody's come over to you because you're driving like an idiot and they're shouting at you and they're cross. I get it. But he didn't go over there and like grab him. He didn't go over there and punch him first. He just went over there and was like, "What are you doing?" And this guy person just decides to. I mean, they've got the weapon in their hand. We don't know what the weapon is because the weapon was never recovered. But this person just decides there and then that the weapon that they've got on their person, this is it. But how does that even happen? How do you go from zero to
They weren't even the driver. They weren't even the driver. So it's not like he was even talking to him.
No. And this is the other thing that I thought about this case. How the hell, if you're the driver, how the hell do you let that person get back on your bike and you drive that person to safety, knowing that they have just stabbed another person for nothing? For nothing. And following that, if you didn't realise that that person had stabbed him, you live locally, I would imagine, and you hear the news and you know damn well who that person was that did that, and you know that that guy is dead and he did nothing to deserve it. Why aren't you going to police, even anonymously? Why aren't you doing that? How can you go to sleep at night knowing that your friend, in air quotation marks, just killed somebody in cold blood and left, and you left with them?
Because I guarantee you, those people, they're not thinking of it like you and I would be thinking of it. They're thinking, "Oh man, did you see that? That was awesome. Did you see what so and so did? Yeah, that was cool."
Yeah, in front of
because
each other.
That's their
I think
mindset.
Maybe. Yeah, I think maybe in front of each other. But I think at night, when you're at home and you're on your own and you're in bed, you'll never ever forget that. That will never leave you. Even as an adult, if that was younger lads, you would never forget what that person did, and you would never forget that you did nothing to help him. You did nothing.
I think that's giving them too much credit, to be honest. That they have some level of civility inside. I think that's giving them too much credit.
Do you not think that it will creep? I do. I think it would creep into their minds. I think on their own, not the person that did it, maybe not, but the person that was there and that helped that other person get away. I think that when they're on their own, they must have that in their minds.
But
they must do.
It's still not going to be. It's not going to be. It's not
enough
for them to come forward and say anything.
No, it's not enough.
So
I just couldn't do it. I couldn't live with myself. It's awful. Now, police did make arrests in this case. There were arrests, but nobody has ever been charged in connection with Adam's death. There have been appeals, and every year there is an appeal, and Adam's family and we find this with families, they are so strong. I know they don't think they are, because every time I say this to a mum or a sister, they say, no, I'm not strong. And I say, no, you are. You are so strong to keep going, to keep fighting. And that's what they've done. That's what they've done since 2017. They must be exhausted. They must be absolutely exhausted. And why should they have to continuously fight to get something good out of their son and brother's name? You know, to have somebody taken away from you like that, it makes you angry. You're angry. How dare they do that? How dare they take away your brother? You know, and then to do what that family have done. I mean, the family, they set up there's a Facebook page, and it's called Adam. I think it's under Adam Prescot, and I'm going to put the links in our show notes. And there's a page where they do so much fundraising, like absolutely amazing fundraising. They have a website, and I want everybody, if ever you do anything I ever ask you of the podcast, please visit the adamfoundation.co.uk. Okay. Now, the Adam Foundation is a foundation that was set up by Adam's family, and Adam stands for Achieving Dreams and Memories. Okay. And they fundraise to help other people achieve their dreams. Okay. They've got a football team. They've got an Adam football team. They do marathons. They visit schools, Morgan, and they talk about carrying knives and what consequences carrying knives does. They talk about the ripple effect of crime. Imagine having to relive this over and over and over again in the hope that one child in a primary school or in a secondary school listens to what you're saying and listens to how awful your life has been. That night changed that whole family's life forevermore. It changed them forever. Their lives will never be the same. The police on this November just gone, the 6th anniversary of Adam's death, a guy called Detective Inspector Dave Jones released a press release like they do every year. They did. He said, and I'm going to quote this. It says, "I can't begin to comprehend what Adam's family have been through in the past 6 years. The special occasions, the anniversaries that have gone by without him being there, and with his family knowing that his killer still walks the streets must be unbearable. We know that over the years, people have come forward with intelligence that has assisted us with a number of lines of inquiry, but we need people to come forward with evidence. We know that the answers lie within the community and that people have chosen to stay quiet. To those people, I would say, please search your conscience. Tell us what you know and let us do the rest, because Adam's family don't deserve to be left in limbo without ever getting any justice." This is, I completely agree with him, but I just want to put this into context for people. That family, every Christmas, every birthday, every birth of a child, every celebration, every time they go past a place where they ate a meal for a special occasion, every time they see weddings, they are missing a giant Adam-sized hole in their family. Okay,
right.
There are people that know exactly who that person was. They know exactly. Adam's family don't need to know the why. They just want that person who stole Adam's life to serve time for that, to get some kind of punishment for what they did. And despite losing him in the most horrific way that you can lose a family member, having to watch that unfold in a hospital room, having to watch all of that, you're never going to get those visions out of your mind. And despite all of that, this family have pulled together with Adam's friends and other people in the community, and they have decided to make something out of this that's going to help so many people. Now, in the year ending, I know how you love statistics, so I've done some statistics for you. In the year ending March 2023, there are around 50,500 offences involving a sharp instrument in England and Wales. Now, this doesn't include the Devon and Cornwall area. I don't know why, but it doesn't. This was 4.7% higher than 21 to 22, but 7% lower than 19 to 20. Half of all teenagers have witnessed or were victims of violence in England and Wales last year, according to this report by government advisors into what drives knife crime, gangs and bullying. Okay, this is the largest ever survey in the UK of youngsters about the problem. And they found shocking and unacceptable, that's what it says, shocking and unacceptable levels of youth violence, with 358,000 teenagers physically injured in the last 12 months. Ooh. 358,000 teenagers.
That is a lot. That is crazy.
That is horrific. How the hell are our kids on the streets with knives? Why? Why are they carrying knives? They need to understand. They need to understand the consequence of this. Do you remember at CrimeCon this year, there was a guy, Quinton, that talked in place of Ellison Cope, whose son was murdered. Joshua Rivera was murdered. And unfortunately, Ellison was held up. And Quinton stood in. And he was amazing. He was once in a gang. He had been stabbed. He talks about him having gang violence, upon himself. And he now visits schools like Ellison does. And he now goes to schools and talks to people just like Adam's family are. Why are families having to do this? I feel like I'm whining, but do you know what I mean? Why are families having to go to schools and talk to children about carrying knives?
It should be common sense. right?
But parents,
don't do
it's
it.
just...
What? Why?
I didn't know anybody that carried knives when I was at school. Not this prolifically. I honestly don't know. I know everyone always says that. Well, back in the day when I was a child, but
Yeah.
I feel like it's just so much worse. It's getting worse and worse and worse.
No, like the only kids, like, I mean, I can't remember a specific moment where, someone had a knife at school. I'm sure it happened, right? But usually it was like a situation where a kid finds dad's knife and wants to show it off, right? Like, oh, look at this,
Yeah.
right? That's
Not carrying
it
it
was
to
just
inflict, yeah.
To inflict, violence. No, exactly.
Death, yeah. And it saddens me that 358,000 teenagers. I mean, that in 12 months, that is it's awful. It's absolutely awful. And Adam's family, Ellison Cope and Quinton, all doing fantastic work. They shouldn't have to be doing this work. Ellison should never have lost Joshua. Adam's family should never have lost Adam. Quinton should never have been stabbed. This shouldn't be happening. But it is. Yeah. It's happening. They also had another statistic. It was 1 in 5 teenagers admit they skipped school during the last 12 months because they felt unsafe.
That's not okay.
What?
That's not okay.
It's not okay. It's not okay. This isn't okay. Adam's death is not okay. Joshua's death is not okay. These mums having to, it's not just mums. Please let me. I'm just because I had focused on the mums, but Joshua's mum, she does go out and campaign, and I'm sure that Adam's dad has a lot to do with all of this, but a lot of the time you just see his mum and his sisters. And please, anyone, if you have information, I'm sure that if you know about this, if you see Adam's name, you're going to look up, because it's part of human psychology. It's a known fact that people involved in crime will search the crime. The fact that we all have mobile phones in our pockets that access the internet, I'm telling you now, I would almost 100% guarantee that those two people, the perpetrator and the other person on the bike, have Googled Adam's name and have seen what's being written about them. 100%.
But it's not
100%.
But it wasn't just them, because how many people did they say were there? Like, how many of the people on the bikes?
That's right.
Like 4 or 5?
Yeah.
In addition to the other 2? Okay,
yeah.
You also mentioned, you said there had been arrests made, but nothing's come out about them. Do we know anything about those?
No, nothing. No.
Okay. To me, I wouldn't be shocked if this was gang related. Not Adam being
not against Adam. Yeah, I agree. I agree
but
with you.
It sounds to me like this was probably a situation where this group, they were out looking for trouble. And I wouldn't be surprised if the person on the back of the bike, if they might have been a younger member and this was like their, I don't want to say initiation, but it's like, this was their moment to prove themselves.
It's a line of inquiry. It's a definite line of inquiry to look at. I agree.
Yeah. This is definitely like a prove yourself moment for, that's how I view it, because there's nothing else that would explain it. It's not self-defense. It wasn't even really a fight.
No, not at all. It wasn't a fight at all. No. It was
and
unprovoked.
If you're going to be feel that disrespected by some words, you need to get some thicker skin.
You need to get
because
some
there's
therapy,
no need.
You need to be caught.
Yeah. Huh. Okay.
But if that is you, and if you are listening, and you've decided to listen to this podcast about what we've said about the perpetrator and what we've said, then just think about that. This was 6 years ago. Adam now would probably be married. He probably would have children. This perpetrator could now be married, could have children. Imagine if that was your brother. Imagine if that was your brother on a night out, and you hear that your brother had a confrontation with a guy on a bike, and that guy on the bike stabbed your brother in the neck. How would you feel about that? Would you want somebody doing everything they possibly can? Of course you would. And what do you think that person deserves? Because what you've just done is cold-blooded murder. And there's absolutely no excuse for that. So anyone that does have any information that could assist in the investigation into Adam's murder, because it still is unsolved, can either direct message at MERPOLCC. So it's Merseyside Police. So it's at MERPOLCC, or you can call 101. If you prefer not to speak to the police, you can stay anonymous. You can call Crime Stoppers. There is a reward out. Not that you should do it for a reward. Absolutely not. You should do it just because you're a decent human being. But there is a reward for this. And Crime Stoppers' phone number is 0800 555 111. You can visit their website as well if you want to, but you can call, leave that information, because if you know something and you're saying nothing, what kind of human being does that make you?
Yeah. So I'm just reading some stuff. This is interesting. So this was from last year. Apparently, that this was. Let me pull this back up here. So one of the people that had been arrested on suspicion of the murder was a 15-year-old.
Yeah. Back
in 2017. 15.
Which is strange because you also said the same thing. Is this a youth member? Is this a younger person?
Yeah.
I couldn't see anything I couldn't see a description of it, but there is a Crime Watch UK reconstruction, so you can actually see what happened. Yeah. They've obviously done the reconstruction, talking with Adam's family so that they could get it right, so you can actually see what happened. You can watch that. I would urge you to go to Facebook, go and definitely go to the Adam Foundation, the website. You can go and have a look at that. You can see pictures of Adam. You can see pictures of his family. You can see what their focus is. You can see what they're doing. You can also find his Facebook page. And the Facebook page is where you can find that interview that I was talking about. And watch that interview. Just watch it, because it's a horrific account of how that family went through that awful time and how now they are fighting for some kind of justice. They're fighting for some kind of good to come out of something so horrific. And definitely look it up on Facebook. I've just followed the page so I can keep up to date with what's going on and help in any way we can. And yeah, I just urge you to do all you can in a case that's not very old. We do always urge you to help in cold cases, but this case is from 2017. It's not long ago. This could have been you, it could have been me, it could have been any of us, just on a night out with friends. And it just makes me so mad. Crazy. So mad.
Yeah.
And that's this week's case. And I will keep you updated with anything that I find. I've reached out to Adam's family to see if they would be interested in talking with us, because I'd really like to help them as much as we possibly can.
Yeah. Well, thank you for this. This was a very interesting case. It's sad.
Really, really sad. This is a case that's really, it's really affected me, this one. I feel really, really bad for his family and for him.
Hopefully, like we always say, there's some sort of resolution and something comes out from this.
I hope so. Yeah.
I mean, what
really
6 years on now? I think it's time to get some justice and to get this solved.
And it will never. I think we always say it will give the family closure. I don't think closure is the right word. I think it closes a chapter for the family, and it allows them to keep moving. It allows them. They get a resolution, at least, is that they know that the person that did this is actually going to pay for what they did. That's what it gives them. It doesn't give them closure. It doesn't make everything feel better again, but it gives them something.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
So I hope that they will get that. I really hope they'll get that one day.
All right. Well, thank you once again. And with that, how about we end this episode with a little dumb criminal to lighten the mood?
Hey, use a dummy and use a piece of shit.
All right, Cherry. Cherry, I actually have 2 dumb criminals for you today.
Okay.
And they both involve police chases. Okay.
Okay. I love a good police chase.
So just recently, a 34-year-old man from Chicago was arrested after robbing a jewelry store in the town of Lebanon, Indiana. Okay. Now, shortly before 5:30 p.m., it was actually last Saturday, police dispatchers received a call from Cade Jewelers, which said that a man had stolen a undetermined amount of jewelry and fled in car. Okay. Now, shortly after the call was made, a Boone County Sheriff's Department saw the vehicle fleeing and tried to pull the driver over. When the car did not stop, additional officers would join the pursuit, including some officers from Lebanon Police. According to the officers, during the pursuit, the suspect began sticking his hand out the window, motioning to the officers. Okay. Eventually, the suspect's vehicle was hit by a police car and ended up getting boxed in, where they were able to place him under arrest.
Yeah.
When the police asked him why he was motioning to the officers, the suspect is quoted as saying, "I was trying to tell you, you're not supposed to pursue me."
What?
So-
why?
So apparently, waving your hand out the window is the international sign of, hey,
Go away.
don't chase me. Go away. You're not supposed to be pursuing me. I'm supposed to get away with this. So, yeah, that doesn't work.
What an
Can you
idiot.
imagine? Like, why would you think
Why
that
are
would
you
work? Like,
chasing me? Go away.
come on.
Just go
Leave me
away.
alone. Leave me alone.
What an idiot.
So that was the first one. Here's another one for you real quick. This was a real quick one. This one is probably the slowest high-speed pursuits in police history. Okay, so this occurred in Mobile, Alabama, when police were called to a Piggly Wiggly store after they said a man drove off in one of their store's electronic shopping carts, right? So these are one of those carts where, for older
for like
customers,
disabled people, or
they
elderly
sit
to
and
be able to. Yeah, okay.
and they drive them around and you're supposed to drop it off. Well, this suspect decided to take one, and he decided that he was going to drive away with it. So
They don't go very fast, though, do they?
They don't. So officers were able to find the man who had taken the cart, because the cart has a top speed of 2.5 miles per hour.
I was going to say, I don't even think it goes even 5 miles an hour because of the sort of people, the elderly people that drive them.
No.
Oh, no. You could run faster than that, probably.
So end up being a 66-year-old man. They don't know where he was headed in it, but his home was about a mile from Piggly Wiggly, so it's possible he was driving home. We don't know, but he ended up being arrested, taken into custody, and charged with first-degree theft. So,
was he waving his hand as well? Like, go away!
No, you're not supposed.
Don't follow me.
You're not supposed to pursue me.
Oh no, that's terrible. That's brilliant. Thank you for that. We always like to do a dumb criminal at the end of our shows, particularly after this one. I also wanted to say a massive thank you to Fur Mama from the good old USA. She has given us a 5-star rating, which is amazing.
Ooh.
Thank you so much. And says, I just started listening. I've been binge listening while I put in a lot of holiday overtime at my work. The stories just draw me in. And I also love Cherry's accent. Keep up the great work. Thank you so much, Fur Mama. We appreciate the time you've taken to give us a review. And if you would like to give us a review, we will be eternally grateful and do happy dances if you want to do that. Thank you so much.
Amazing.
We appreciate you.
Because the last
really nice.
review,
the last one said they hated
like
my
your
accent.
Yeah. I hate the accent.
I hate that accent and I'm never listening again. Oh, okay. Well, Fur Mama likes it. So there. Thanks so much. We will be back next week with another episode for you and maybe hopefully a little update on this one if we can get it in time. And thank you very much for joining us. As always, we will see you soon. So for now, be nice.
And bye.